Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Darius Hall. I'm a worship leader down in Pensacola, Florida at Potential Church. Just want to thank Tim for this amazing opportunity just to be doing some worship songs for your conference. Love you, bro. Just going to sing a song about an amazing God who shows us his amazing grace. And no matter how far we may think we are, no matter how much shame we might be under, when he calls our name, we have absolutely no choice but to respond. So if you know it, definitely sing along. Here we go. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All of my failures I tried to hide. Yeah, it was my tomb till I met you. When you called my name and I ran out of that grave, yeah, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, hey, out of the darkness into your glorious day, hey, yeah. And now your mercy has saved my soul, yeah. And now your freedom is all that I know, yeah. The old made new, thank you, Lord. Jesus, when I met you, oh, what a day it was when you called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Hey, my favorite part, here we go. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, but you called me a citizen of heaven. And when I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future My eyes are open, cause when you called my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. Hey, you called my name, and I ran out of that grave. Hey, out of the darkness into your glorious day. And I'm living in the light now. 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 Hey, I'm living in the light now. 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 Thank you, Jesus.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second night of the Business of Church Virtual Summit. First, I would like to say thank you to my bro Darius Hall for leading us into worship. Dude, I love you, man. I appreciate you for being available. I will say this, the first night was amazing. I mean, amazing. We had some great speakers, Apostle Jonathan Patterson, Dr. Simone Gibson. We had Elder Dion Brown, and we had myself and my brother, Ricky Solomon. I thank you, everyone, for tuning in on Monday and for letting me know that what God is doing is working, and I thank you so much. I'm looking forward to tonight. I mean, get ready. I mean, we have Sister Erika Cole, the church attorney. I mean, like, get your pen and your pad. Remember, I said on Monday, I said, get your pen and pad ready because you're gonna want to take some notes on tonight. And then we have my brother Donald Butler, who's going to be talking about the business of finance. He's going to be covering so much that you're going to want to jot it down. And then next we have my sister, my dear sister, Kasaundra Bryant, who is going to be talking about the business of branding. So you want to get ready. You want to get ready. I mean, get set and let's go. So without further ado, let's bring up my dear sister, Miss Erika Cole, and she is the business attorney. She actually owns a law firm, and she's going to give you also some more details regarding the business. But I'm telling you, you don't want to miss this. So let's bring on my dear sister, Sister Erika Cole. Hi, Miss Erika. How are you?
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me. Glad to be with you.
Thank you so much for being a part. I mean, you're like family to me. You're like an auntie, and I really appreciate this. Would not be a launch without having you to be a part, and I thank you so much. So, everyone, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Erika Cole.
So thank you so much for having me. Tim, I so appreciate your vision. This virtual summit is so very timely. I think so many people have been impacted, will be impacted by the work that you've done. I'm grateful to be a part and to do my part to be able to share. I also just want to echo the blessing of Brother Darius Hall. I was singing, you know, my heart out in the green room. So that was a true blessing. So let me say this. We have, I've got my window and I'm going to do my best to stay within my window. There's so much I could talk about when we talk about church legal matters. It's very interesting because my own personal testimony, being raised in the church, I always tell this that my mom was my Sunday school teacher. My dad was the head deacon and trustee at our church. I grew up in a time where we were in church multiple days a week. And I'm very thankful for that background. I knew very early on at like sixth grade that I wanted to be an attorney, but I never knew until I was clerking for the chief judge of the courts that there was even this legal part of church. So I'm very grateful that God called me into this work, and I believe that He made me the church attorney to be able to serve and use my gifts in this way. So First, let me just say I am going to take questions. So at any point as I'm sharing, I will try to keep my eyes on the comment section. If you have a question about anything that I'm sharing or anything related to church law matters, don't hesitate to pop it in the comment section and I will do my best to cover it. So as relates to my work, as you heard from Tim Marshall, really have a national focus on representing churches. So the whole goal is to help churches avoid legal pitfalls, and so that church leaders can focus on kingdom matters. That really is my vision. So everything from church formation to drafting and reviewing bylaws to tax exempt matters, property matters, buying and selling property, helping with church HR matters, which can be a big deal, hiring and firing, any IRS matters, any audits. That's all within my purview. That's what I do all the time. So it would be almost impossible right now to share in this event at this time without talking about the significance of COVID, its impact on churches. And so I'm going to lead off with that discussion. And again, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and pop it in the comments. I'm going to share a couple of areas of presentation with you. So I will pop up this tool. First of all, let me see. Let me get to share my screen first. And here we go. Actually, I'm just going to go to this tab. All right, so when we talk about what's happening right now within the confines of church, the actual building, right? So we've all been made very aware at this point that church is more than the building, right? Thankfully. Let me get this in presentation mode. Okay, so what we are seeing, however, is that as we consider the re-entry to church, then obviously churches have to consider this whole idea of what might a safe re-entry look like. And of course, this is a question for every vantage point. So schools are having to make the same considerations, workplaces, and obviously churches are not exempt. So one of the major considerations, obviously, is doing it safely so that from a legal standpoint, we want to make sure that no church is, churches want to make sure that they're not sued because someone says, I contracted COVID because I came to a church service, right? And unfortunately, we're already seeing some of these things unwind, and not just the individual who attends, right? So, as we talk about these things legally, we could see how that person might have a case if that is in fact what occurs. You've got to get beyond the element of proof. But what if it's not the person who attended, but the person attends, comes home, or comes to a work environment and shares, unfortunately, the virus with someone else? Does that someone else also have a case? So these are the major considerations around reentry. So at this point, I'm sure most churches have considered what some sort of reentry plan would look like. And I will say that if you reach out to me at churchattorney.com, you send me a message at churchattorney.com, I'll make a point to send you my presentation that I've shared regarding church reentry and major legal considerations. But that's the big point that we're trying to avoid: someone actually contracting the virus or giving the virus to someone else, and that possible legal liability. So one of the major considerations there too is making sure that you check your insurance policy. So hopefully the church has insurance, and then within that policy, if you have coverage for this kind of liability. And I will tell you, unfortunately, if you don't already have this policy, as you can imagine, the major insurance carriers are not providing coverage now. So if you're not already kind of grandfathered in, it's hard to get this kind of coverage now, if not impossible. So I've been working with churches through this process of developing a reentry plan, a safe reentry plan. I will say, unfortunately, we have also gotten the calls where a individual has indicated that they contracted COVID from church. And in our position of representing churches, helping churches walk through that process and defend them so that they can, again, reduce or avoid potential liability. One of the considerations, too, we've been asked to help in is waivers. So if you're not familiar, and you probably are because we run into waivers regularly, but the whole idea of having attendees sign a waiver or a release indicating that they won't sue the church or that they will release the church from any potential liability if some harm comes to them by virtue of attending service in the midst of this pandemic. So these are obviously interesting times. God has given us grace, but I'm hoping that I can be a vessel to help share legal information and wisdom with churches. And the last I want to mention related to this is the First Amendment considerations. A part of what we've seen is the challenge that some churches have made against their local authorities or officials, indicating that churches have a First Amendment right to be open, and it's a violation of First Amendment freedom of religion for churches to be closed. And those cases are starting to matriculate through the courts. Now, again, many of you may be aware that the nature of how our legal system works is we deal with precedents, right? And there's clearly no precedents for COVID-19 litigation. So as best we can, we rely on past, most relevant cases that we might be able to draw an analogy. And so far, courts have not been buying it as relates to these First Amendment arguments that churches have a right to be open during the time of the pandemic. So those are some things that I will continue to follow. As I said, if you want the full presentation, the full slide deck on my discussions regarding how your church can protect itself, do the best you can to protect yourself against COVID-19 claims, go to churchattorney.com and shoot me a message, and I will look forward to getting those to you. Let me share on a few other matters about operational pitfalls that I'd want to make sure your church avoids. And I have the blessing of heading the Churches and Faith-Based Organizations group at Whiteford, Taylor, and Preston. As Tim mentioned, I was able to start and run my own firm for over 12 years, and our firm combined with a larger firm that's been amazing to give us a wider platform of, I think, probably 18 different offices to serve our clients. So I've covered some of the areas of work that we do, and so we're happy to be here to serve in this way. Obviously, I'm a lawyer, so I'm going to give you my disclaimer. This information is being provided by the attorneys in the Churches and Faith-Based Organizations group of Whiteford, Taylor, and Preston. This is not intended to provide you with legal advice. It's just general information. All right. So moving ahead, obviously I get this comment quite a bit that the church is a business. And so I really love how Tim named this the business of church, because I've often made the comment, I don't believe the church is a business because Jesus gave his life for us, for the world, for the church, not for a business. But there is, without a doubt, a business side of church. Without a doubt, there are these practical considerations that we really need to make, and I'm hoping that I can help you walk through some of those things tonight. So one of the major considerations is a lack of policies. So it's really important that churches have the proper policies in place so that you can try to avoid negative consequences and potential liabilities and pitfalls, right? So consider these policies, and I'm going to have to move through them relatively quickly to stay within my time frame. But lack of policies is one of those pitfalls that we want to make sure we avoid. So child protection policy, counseling policy, financial policy, confidentiality policy. Let's kind of go with each of these. So first, when we talk about the child protection policy, in the last 5 years, and frankly, I think we're measuring about 12 years or so that the church law and tax organization has specifically tracked what gets churches into court most often. And by and large, the number one reason is for the sexual abuse of minors. And that's so unfortunate to consider, but those are really the facts. So you've got to ask yourself, does your church have a child protection policy? It's designed to protect children, youth, and families from abuse by volunteers and paid staff. I mean, that's really the whole point. And I will say that because of many organizations being in the front line, now that we've seen that unfortunately children have been harmed, and courts expect that churches will already have in place a child protection policy. So if, God forbid, something comes up and you don't have a policy in place, it does not look good. Courts expect it to be in place. And frankly, insurance carriers now are not insuring many churches if you don't already have this policy in place. So next, a counseling policy. So spiritual counseling is obviously a common service that we can find at church. A lot of times, for whatever reason, people may not have options or not feel that they have options for counseling. But I know that we had an excellent person share, Dion Brown, about counseling and its overall importance. So I will say that from a legal standpoint, courts have wanted to distinguish counseling, spiritual counseling at church, from counseling of someone who is licensed, because sometimes if an unlicensed person does counseling at church, it can raise it to that level of liability of a licensed counselor. So you want to make sure that you have a counseling policy that makes clear that you're providing biblical guidance, altogether, ideally not use the counseling term. So I advise churches to have a process of biblical guidance as opposed to counseling. So if you actually have a policy on counseling, you want to make sure that it's clearly spiritual counseling. You want to have required screening of all counselors. Only provide counseling at times and places where there are others. You don't want to have counseling one-on-one behind closed doors without some clear, again, process and procedure in place. Know when to say when, know when to refer an individual out to a licensed professional. Require training. You want to make sure that those disclosures are in place in advance. Limit those sessions. I mean, sometimes you see people who've been in counseling for weeks, months, and years. That you don't want that. That really, at some point, you want to be very clear that maybe you'll provide 3 to 5 sessions total. And if you have going to be counseling minors or providing any guidance to minors, you really want to follow some strict protocols there. And then the financial policy. This is probably going to be something that you'll hear more about tonight as Donald Butler speaks. I haven't seen his lineup, but the whole idea of managing finances at church is really critical. So a financial policy is designed to establish specific procedures and regulations to ensure that you have good operations. A part of that, obviously, is making sure that you don't have the same people collecting funds and counting funds and depositing funds and accounting for funds. This is often where we've seen issues just in good accountability. You want to make sure that there are clear reporting requirements, the expenditure of funds. So you want to make sure that there's proper forms for any funds request or any reimbursement. So these are just good checks and balances overall, so that you're not having one person, or may I even say, as we've seen issues with husband and wife or related individuals managing the finances. So these are some considerations that you want to have within financial policy to make sure that you keep back your records of all donations and timely provide giving statements. So an IRS compliant giving statement is going to include the full legal name and address of the organization, so of your church, so that it's clear to whom the donation has been made, the name of the donor, not including anybody's social security number, the amount of the donation, the date of the acknowledgement. That's particularly important because the IRS says that your statement has to be timely, and that basically has meant that generally within a reasonable period of time from when the donation has been made. So, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you give a donation on Sunday, then you got to receive a statement on Monday. But many churches give statements annually, and so you want to make sure that that statement is in generally by January 31st of the following year. And you do want to make sure, if you take down not another note, you want to make sure that you include this statement: no goods, services, or benefits were provided in exchange for the donation. We actually have a number of cases on record where a church did not include that specific statement, and the donor was not able to take advantage of the donations that they had made to this church. And I think in one case, the husband and wife had donated like $40,000, and they weren't able to take that donation on their tax returns. In fact, they then had to pay another, several thousands of dollars in taxes because the church neglected to give them a proper giving statement. So I think it's safe to say that those people no longer go to that church. So let's make sure we have our I's dotted and T's crossed in that regard. So one of the other things I want to talk about, especially kind of connecting again in this COVID world, we've had to be more creative as churches about how we receive funds. So churches that weren't already set up to maybe take money on an app, whether the church's app or another app. Givelify obviously is very popular, Cash App, etc. But you want to make sure that if there is an individual, so let's say that the pastor has any donations that would come to him or her properly, would be separate from any donations that would be coming to the church. Sometimes, we don't want those lines to be blurred. So the same is true when we're in person, right? So if the leader, the pastor, is the sole signatory on the church's bank account or has the authority to make expenditures unilaterally, or uses the organization's accounts for any personal reasons, obviously the IRS would view that accounting process to be improper. And so the same is true for, apps and those sorts of things. The last policy I want to mention is the confidentiality policy. And this, again, is just an indication that the church will keep confidential members' contact information, credit card information, bank account numbers, giving statements, any requests for benevolence, etc. So one of the other issues, this without a doubt is one of the areas that I always receive questions on, and that's related to love offerings. And we find that it's very important to make the distinction between what is a gift and what is reportable income. And ultimately, the IRS makes that determination. But generally speaking, if anything that's considered that's revenue received for an individual for services or in their role is generally considered income. So just be mindful of those things. So I actually did write a book specifically on love offerings, and happy to, again, share that. Now, insufficient technology and social media plan is also a huge area, especially, again, nowadays. So does your organization have a technology plan? You want to make sure that you secure all Wi-Fi networks. There has been specific litigation around an organization that had an open, it's actually a church, it had open Wi-Fi network, and someone came onto the church parking lot using that open Wi-Fi and unfortunately downloaded very inappropriate material. And the courts actually determined that the church's open Wi-Fi contributed to that issue. So make sure that your Wi-Fi is secure. And again, considering social media, a few legal issues to consider is breach of confidentiality. Just want to make sure that you don't overshare on social media on the church's behalf. Any photos or videos containing any person's likeness without his or her permission, especially as that could relate to a minor, that's a big issue. And church IP issues, just making sure that when you share any materials, including sermons, you're clear about the ownership of those things. One last thing I'd like to mention is every year, I don't know, I would say for about 12 years, I've hosted a conference called the Church Compliance Conference, and this year we're going to do it virtually. So it's Thursday, September 24th. Mark your calendars for that. And again, if you go to churchattorney.com, shoot me any information. I'll be happy to add you to our email list. And let's see, I'll stop sharing my screen. Yeah, I'll be happy to add you to our email list and invite you to our online event, Thursday, September 24th. Let me check to see if I've got any questions that I need. Okay. I don't see anything. Thank you for the compliments. I'm glad that the information's been helpful. I will hang on if there are any more questions. Other than that, Tim, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much for that wealth of knowledge. So while we're waiting for some questions, because social media is on a 10-second delay, so I'm pretty sure they're going to probably be flooding in. But if not, if I do see them, I'll of course let you guys know. But I didn't know that it was so much in detail with regards to law in the church. And I think sometimes pastors need to be educated, pastors and church leaders need to be educated with regards to the rights that they have, with regards to, there are some things that you have to fall in compliance with, even though you are a religious institution. So I want to say thank you so much for that wealth of knowledge. Again, like Erika Cole said, visit her website, www.churchattorney.com. And I'm telling you, do not want to miss her conference. I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome. So you definitely want to go to our website and get more information with regards to that. All right. So thank you again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have another selection by my dear sister, Jamila Richardson.
Praise the Lord. It's Jamila Richardson. Come on and help us lift the name of the Lord up. worthy to be praised. I will call upon the Lord, for he is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemy. And let God, yeah, be exalted. Blessed be, and let the God of my salvation be exalted. Oh, sing it with me. I will call upon the Lord, for he is worthy to be praised. I will call upon the Lord, for he is worthy to be praised. So will I be saved from my enemy. Blessed be, and let God be exalted. Come on, sing. Blessed be, oh yeah. Be exalted. Say, oh, Jesus. Blessed be, and let the God of my salvation be exalted. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, oh yeah. Be exalted. We lift your name, oh God. Come on, say it. Come and bless your name. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. There's only one name. There's one name for the glory. Come on, somebody else bless the name of the Lord. Hey, yeah. Say, only one. There's one, only one true and living King. Our Redeemer, our provider. And we lift your name high, yeah. Come on, help me say, oh, he's Lord over my life. He's Lord over my life. He's Lord over He's Lord over my life. Come and lift you high, yeah. We give you all the praise. You're worthy of it all. Say, baby, only one God. You're the lifter of our heads, yeah. You're a master, you're a savior. And we come to lift your name high. Hey, come on, side. And we lift your name higher. We came to give you all the praise. Come and bless your name, yeah, yeah. Hey, come on, side. He's blowing over my heart. Blowing over my heart. I'm one true living Savior. Blowing over my heart. My master and my Savior. My true protector. You're my strong tower. Blowing over my heart. I give you glory. I touch your name. Hey, yeah. I will call upon the Lord, yeah.
Thank you so much. That man, let me tell y'all something. My sister Mala just took us to church. I mean, I was about to have a Holy Ghost fit up in this place. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that selection. So now I'm going to introduce my brother, Donald Butler. He is an awesome. I mean, the dude walks finances. I mean, you want to know something in the Bible about finances? Just ask Donald. He will walk you through it. I'm telling you. So you want to get your pen and paper. You want to get ready for a great word, a great training. And get ready, start sending your questions in so that way we can answer them. I did see some questions with regards to Erika Cole and Business of Law. So if she's available, then what we'll do is after Donald's part, we'll then go to the question and answering. So without further ado, I want to bring on the screen my dear brother, Donald Butler. Hey, Donald, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for being a part of this. You're my bro, and guys, he's also my accountant for Eagle Lens Media. He keeps us in line. So I want to say thank you so much. He has, everybody needs, if you're a business owner, if you're a church, everyone needs someone to handle the finances. I mean, ever since he's been handling it, I haven't had any issues with regards to me. I mean, he will call me and say, "Hey, Tim, what is that what are you spending?" That no, you can't. He does things by the book, and I so appreciate you, bro, for everything you do for us. He is also the owner and the CEO. Everybody say CEO. The CEO of Butler Squared. I mean, an awesome group of people, an awesome group of auditors, of accountants. So if you do not have an accountant, please contact him. I'm telling you, just get your seatbelt ready, because he's going to give you information that you are going to want to use. And tax season is coming around, so you want to be ready. All right, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my brother, Donald Butler.
Tim, we didn't get a backdrop like that. But thank you, Tim, for that wonderful introduction. Welcome to all. Thank you all for tuning in to this awesome platform. Just wanted to share with you some insight about tonight, business of finances. Just to give you a little bit about my background, I'm a professor of accounting at University of Maryland Global Campus, and been teaching accounting there for over the past 5 years. Also, I've been in accounting for over 20 years, doing audits and financial audits, as well as IT audits, and certified IT auditor, as well as other certifications, tax professional, you name it. But out of all that, I'm proud to own my own business. I'm proud to be an entrepreneur, teaching other people how to be an entrepreneur and do it the right way, and maximize on it. This is a very critical time in history that we're seeing with our markets, the shift in everything, where people are losing their jobs. And it's like, what do you do now? Do you wait to collect unemployment, or do you get up and start doing something? I always say, get up and start doing something. What is it that's needed now that you can supply that need and make money off of it? So I'm going to go ahead and get into the presentation. And but yes, like you said, Butler Squared is my wife and our company. And even though I'm the CEO, she's my boss as well. She makes sure that we got everything covered. But I'm proud to be the business owner, and like I said, helping others. And we're headquartered in Southern Maryland. We have offices in Baltimore, Bowie, and National Harbor primarily. We have over 20 years of accounting experience in this industry. So our mission is to help all people achieve their accounting and business needs while providing financial security and peace. That's a powerful mission statement. So, we're educating people. We provide accounting, bookkeeping, as you see here, monthly bank reconciliations, accounts receivables, payables, all the typical things of doing accounting. So just giving you kind of like a high level view of what we do. Tax preparation, individual returns, business returns, 990 for all those nonprofit organizations, and business filings with states. And business consulting. This is very big because a lot of times people are trying to form a business, or they need like project management. We've done that as well. We assist with strategic planning, business planning, also with continuity strategies. Like, how do you survive this economy? So this is something that we help with. Also, for your personal finances, we also have an app, a money management solutions app, that we help our clients manage their finances with budgeting, debt management, credit evaluation, financial coaching, as well as retirement planning. These are all necessary things you should consider. And but tonight we're going to be talking about business of finances. What does that look like for the church environment? So we're going to lay out some foundations here, some key focus areas that we're going to touch on. We're going to talk about the IRS tax exemption, 501c3. There are some myths out there. We want to clear that up. Board of directors, accounting, budget management, donation management, housing allowance, gifts to pastors, conflict of interest, and benevolence. These are some of the topics even Erika Cole mentioned. So I would say she gave like really some good information there. I don't even think I even need to share it, but I'll talk about it anyway. But I'll tell you, these are some important areas that, like I said, where she even started that conversation. Does a church need to comply with 501c3? Does the church really know what that is? So a lot of times you may have a church that says, well, I don't need to apply or, comply with 501c3. We're not a 501c3 organization. But technically, under Section 508c1, this is the IRS code, it relieves churches from applying for a favorable determination letter, basically regarding their exempt status. But that does not relieve a church from having to meet the requirements of a Section 501c3. So no matter what, you still have to follow the requirements of a 501c3. Why did I point that out first? Because one, it's important to lay this foundation. Why do we need to do what we do? Business of finances. Why do we need that? Why do we need accounting? Why do we need to make sure we have financial policies? Why do we need to make sure we have conflict of interest policies? Why do we need to focus on benevolence? These are some of the things we wonder. Why do we need to comply with these things? Well, because the IRS expects that you will follow or comply with 501c3. So your board of directors, this is an essential part of the church. One thing that I do is I educate people and I say, listen, you should ask, who is the board of directors? That's your fiduciary, or that is your responsibility to know that information. You can ask, who is the president? Who's the secretary? Who's the treasurer? This is something that's public information that you can find out, especially when you're donating your finances to that ministry. At least 3 people on the board. So if you're starting the church and you're like, who do I need to select, or what role should they fill? At least the president, secretary, and treasurer are key roles for the board of directors. A majority of the board should be unrelated and not compensated. You see that? Unrelated and not compensated. Carefully select your board members. For any nonprofit, so we at Butler Square, we help a few nonprofit organizations, and we talk about some of these areas where there could be a conflict of interest as it relates to family members, or compensation. So these are some of the things that we touch on. When you find a board of or someone that you want to be a part of your board of directors, you can basically interview them. Provide a clear job description, run background checks, because you want to make sure who you select is qualified to be on the board. This is a significant position and is really nothing to play around with, especially when we talk about the laws around the church world. Accounting. This is another area that we need to focus on when it comes down to business or finance. Accounting plays a very important role. We have revenue projections when it comes down to accounting, tracking revenues and expenses, and financial reporting. If we don't have proper accounting, there's no way we can tell what our revenue projections are, or we wouldn't even be able to track the revenue and expenses. So how can we even create a budget if we don't even know what our line items are, that, where are we spending our money? So accounting for churches focuses on accountability and stewardship versus profitability. So it's not whether or not the church is profitable, but it's more about being accountable and the proper stewardship. So what type of accounting do we focus on when it comes down to a church or a nonprofit organization? We use fund accounting. Fund accounting is necessary for churches to separate resources into different accounts and identify the use of those resources. Now, listen, this is for the accountant out there or someone that's interested in doing accounting, because a lot of times you might say, what in the world are we talking about when it comes down to fund accounting? That sounds like, we building funds, but that's exactly what it is. It's designating funds to a specific area. So you want your assets clear, your bank accounts, your receivables, your liabilities. You need to make sure you allocate what's accounts payable or due to other organizations, etc. And also your operating revenues, such as pledges and donations. These are some of the areas that you need to focus on when you have accounting or you have accounting in your ministry. IRS uses the following resources, and this is very big. The Statement of Financial Accounting Standards, number 117, specific to nonprofit organizations. It requires all nonprofit organizations provide a statement of financial position, a statement of activities, and a statement of cash flows. So this is required. This is not something that you can just skate over and don't do it. Budget management. A budget is necessary for the ongoing operations of the church. What is your church's priorities? So basically, when you create your budget, what are your priorities? What is your spending plan? And what is your current balance and expected income from giving and other sources? So these are some of the things you have to consider whenever you're doing a budget. And right now, given the pandemic that we're in, I know that we, see some creative fundraising going on. So, taking that into consideration, and you still have expenses like your building expenses. You may be still renting, or maybe you have a mortgage on that building. These are still expenses that you have to cover. And so you got to make sure you understand what those expenses are. So that's why a budget is necessary. The members should know the needs of the church. So you basically have here that if you have an area that you're trying to fund, like we're trying to make sure we fund activities or fund a building project or whatever the project is, you can let your members know. This is a key area that will support your mission. You can show the members where the money is going, like the project or the new building, wherever that you're spending the money. So this is very key. And this helps even encourage people to donate. You give them a reason why they want to donate to this organization, to this cause. And they can feel even more encouraged to donate to this organization or to your church. The benefits of a budget includes it protects the board of directors. You would never think that a budget does that. Without a budget, your board of directors is at risk, because basically we need to show that the budget is geared towards ministry purposes, so that it's operating for the good of the public and not for private interests of the board members. That's very key. So if I'm a board member, I would want to see a budget. I would want to make sure that it's clearly outlined so that I can protect myself. Okay. It provides an overview of the finances and helps with decision making, because obviously when we have a budget in place, we can determine, should we do a conference, or should we, go with a smaller venue, a smaller event? These are certain things that we need to think about whenever we create a budget. Now, of course, with church, you pray over it. You say, Lord, this is what we want to do. This is what our budget looks like. Help us to bring in the revenue, come up with creative ideas to raise money. So these are some of the things that you can do, and it can be spirit-led. Donation management. This is another key area. Now, what people don't know about donation management is you can have restricted donations. These are non-tax deductible donations with specific instructions regarding how the money should be used. So if brother A or sister C says, I want to donate to this ministry, but I want it to go specifically to this particular fund. I want it to go to the building fund. So there's certain rules that we have to comply with that says that the reason why that it's been designated or is restricted, that is not tax deductible. So that's something to think about. Designated donations, these are tax deductible offerings with the sentiment of what the individual or organization would like the donation to be used for, but the ultimate decision still rests on the church. So this person is not really saying that it has to go to this fund, but they're leaving it to the organization to decide what's best. Unrestricted donation, this is more common, where you just give your offering, your tithe, and you say, I'm releasing it. This is a tax deductible offering with no stipulation. Now, you must track deductions, and I like what Erika Cole mentioned, and she said, that basically the IRS expects that you will report or provide a donation statement or contribution statement to the donor. So that's necessary. And be sure to provide a contribution statement of the amounts received to each individual and even organization who donated. Okay. Housing allowance is another hot topic. So a lot of times I see here that, there's some misunderstanding about housing allowances. Now, March 15, 2019, you almost got this ruled out. Okay. So thankfully, the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit ruled that the housing allowance under Section 107 is constitutional. So this was debated on, and this is one reason why you need to pay attention to some of the things that's happening in our politics. because some things are on the table that you don't even know that they're taking your rights. Okay. So housing allowance is not money paid to a pastor in place of or in addition to a salary. Okay. It is a portion of the board approved salary a minister is already receiving that is excluded from his or her taxable income, such as rent, property taxes, repairs, furniture, expenses that provide the minister with a home. So if you ever wonder, are we taking care of our pastor? Are we taking care of our ministers? This is one way of taking care of them. They're not paying taxes on this money. So this is very big. This is very key. Now, there's a lot more to talk about with housing allowance, but I'm going to continue on for the sake of time. Gifts to pastors, Treasury regulation, as you see here, 1.132-6 in C, makes it clear that cash or cash equivalents are subject to federal income tax as well as Social Security tax. Examples of gifts which are considered cash or cash equivalents include the following. If you're giving cash or a check, no matter how small an amount. And I remember I got some feedback with regards to this, and people said that they didn't think that pastors should be taxed on that money. Well, you can see here, based on this regulation, that no matter what the amount is, it is taxable. A gift card, no matter how small in amount, and also redeemable gift certificates of any kind. And basically, essentially, it goes back to the rule that you're paying for services. So anytime that you're giving a gift like this to a person such as a pastor, is looked at as a gift or looked at as income for services provided. Taxable fringe benefits. These tangible gifts are things you can touch, such as an iPad or vehicle. The fringe benefits are any material benefits provided by an employer, which is the church, to an employee, like your pastor, that is not included in his or her stated compensation agreement. So this is something that, needs to be taken into consideration, that this is taxable. Okay. The church provided a vehicle. Oh man, we want to provide a vehicle to the pastor. This is great. But listen, a church provided vehicle with no personal use. If a church provides its pastor with a church-owned vehicle with no personal use of the vehicle, but permits commuting to and from the church office, then the use of the vehicle will not be taxable to the pastor. So it will not be taxable. There are, however, certain conditions that apply. And so we can't just say that as a blanket statement, but typically this is how it works. Church provided vehicles with personal use. The general rule is that personal use of a church provided vehicle is taxable income for a pastor, and it must be valued and reported using one of the 4 valuation rules: general valuation rules, lease valuation rules, cents per mile rules, or commuting valuation rules. So as you can see, gifts to a pastor or minister is not simple. We got to make sure we follow the law. Also, there's non-taxable fringe benefits. This is the handwritten letters from members of the congregation expressing their gratitude. So this is not taxable. A gift basket containing some of the favorite things your pastor enjoys, such as candy, coffee, favorite pens, etc. A video presentation of the past year of the church. This could also include recorded thank yous from the congregation to the pastor. So these gifts are not taxable. Okay. Now let's jump into conflict of interest. The conflict of interest occurs when an individual with a vested interest in the affairs of the church, such as a board member, family of a board member, compensated individual, etc., participates in a decision that may personally benefit him or herself or another individual with a vested interest in the affairs of the church. So that's a conflict of interest. Okay. So we have to be very careful of that. The IRS refers to such individuals with a vested interest as disqualified persons, and that's based on Treasury regulation here. Understanding who is considered a disqualified person will help you prevent a conflict of interest situation from arising in your church. A disqualified person includes officers, directors, bishops, pastors, board members, relatives of officers, directors, bishops, trustees, pastor, or any individual on the board of directors that is receiving compensation from the church. Okay. So conflict of interest is big. Benevolence. So the IRS defines benevolence as a gift given from detached and disinterested generosity, and also out of charity or like impulses using a Supreme Court decision under Section 102. Under this current interpretation, a recipient can receive a tax-free assistance and not receive a Form 1099 miscellaneous. However, there are also guidelines on who is eligible to receive benevolence. Okay, this is when someone comes to the church and say, "Hey, I need help. I need to pay my rent, or my phone is about to get turned off." So the IRS, or the income tax regulation here, defines those who qualify for benevolence as persons who are financially unable to care for themselves as a result of sudden and severe or overwhelming financial burdens arising from events beyond their control, are proper objects of charity because they are considered to be distressed. So there is a definition for benevolence. Also, the income tax regulation here below defines needy as a person who lacks the necessities of life involving physical, mental, or emotional well-being as a result of poverty or temporary distress. So listen, this goes into more details. It gives details on who would be considered disqualified persons, as known as insiders. So essentially, people that are disqualified cannot receive benevolence. So that's essentially anyone that has a substantial amount of influence in the church, along with their family members, cannot receive benefits from the organization. You could say, Donald, well, what happens if if that occurs? Well, there could be penalties. The nonprofit could lose its 501c3 status or nonprofit tax exempt organization status. So there's a number of things that can happen. Because of this, board members and their direct family members are ineligible to receive any financial benefits from the church, benevolence included. And it says when a disqualified person receives benevolence, it is what is known as an excess benefit transaction. And this transaction happens when a disqualified person receives any type of financial benefit or assistance that is more than the service that a person provides to the organization. So basically, the person can work for the church, but they just cannot get money from the church, okay, when they're a disqualified person. So going even further with benevolence, we're going to talk about private inurement. This is something that is not a term that's bounced around very often, but that's when a nonprofit's money is devoted to private uses instead of charitable purposes. And that's considered an unacceptable practice for nonprofits, according to the IRS. Even if a nonprofit is fulfilling its tax exempt purpose, it cannot be a tax exempt organization if it is organized to benefit an individual and under state law can lose its nonprofit status. So here we go again. If a person privately benefit from the organization, the organization, is at jeopardy of losing its nonprofit status. And it says here an example would be if a pastor was using his church's money to pay their child's tuition, college tuition, or lease a car for his wife, have his living room remodeled, rent a house in the mountains, while also being permitted to charge almost $60,000 in personal expenses to the church's credit card. And truly, any of these activities alone would be considered as private inurement if the pastor is using the church's money for his or her own private needs. So as you can see here, there is enough information that we can look at here that says, listen, it's best to do things in order. It's best to do things properly in church as it relates to finances. And I think that when you have the right heart and you want to do it right, this all makes sense. You're like, listen, I want to make sure I do this right. I want to make sure I put the right controls in place to make sure we're not violating any IRS or any potential law, federal or state laws that could put our church nonprofit status at jeopardy. So listen, I'm going to stop there. Are there any questions, anything that I can answer? I went through that pretty quickly because I wanted to make sure I get enough information to you, but there is so much that we can talk about in these areas. But Tim, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can see, if there's anybody that have any questions out there.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate you being a part of this. One of the things that leaped out to me with regards to financing the church is that you said benevolence, like they can really lose their 501c3, and I think that's really important because I think sometimes church leaders, because they do not know, they could put themselves in a predicament that they could lose status. So I'm so grateful. We're going to just wait just a few more seconds to just see if anyone has any questions. But I so appreciate you, bro. Thank you for your wisdom with regards to finance. And I mean, I'm pretty sure your email will be flooded.
Listen, I'm here, to answer questions. Somebody said, Donald, this stuff used to be shared back in the day. We don't hear this anymore because right now we're dealing with, the cash apps and the, other things that are electronic cash. And when you see things like a pastor posting their cash app on Facebook or some sort of social media platform, that's very concerning. And as Erika Cole mentioned, the IRS is monitoring these bank accounts. And so you definitely don't want to get in trouble with this type of stuff. But yeah, so I'm excited. If anybody need help, you can reach me here, contact at butlersquare.com, and we'll be glad to help you.
Awesome. Before we transition, there was a question that came in that says, if you lose your status, can you get it back? If you lose your 501c3 status, can you
All right.
get it back?
That's left up to the IRS, so I can't answer for the IRS, but I'll say this, that you can try to get it back. It's just a matter. Normally, when it comes down to a church, the IRS is a little bit more forgiving, meaning that they'll look into all circumstances to see if that's necessary. Because again, the organization is there to support the general public, so they don't want to hurt the general public, perhaps. But these are some of the things they have to say. If you're not doing XYZ, the penalty could be this, so we don't know the extent that they will go, if, how damaging it could be. But, if you lose your status, that could be permanent.
Wow. Yeah. So don't lose your status. Don't take grace and don't take it for granted. Like, don't lose your status. Just fall in line, so that way you can benefit.
You need the Erika Coles, you need the accountants, you need them around you. Listen, Jesus had them.
He sure did. He sure did. I mean, like, that was such a wealth of knowledge. And I so appreciate you. So thank you again for being a part. And also, I see my sis Alberta. She posted contact at butlersquare.com. So send an email if you have any questions, if you have anything with regard to finance, even retirement, life insurance, whatever. Contact them because they're going to steer you the right way. One of the things I love about Butler Squared is they always keep the facts. They're not going to fluff you. They're not going to tell you, based upon, oh, well, I'm not going to tell them no, they're going to be honest. And that's one thing that is very important with regards to finances. So again, thank you, bro, for being a part of this. I so appreciate it. Awesome. All right. So before we go to my sister Kasaundra, let me first tell you about Kasaundra. Kasaundra is a beast. She is an awesome graphic designer. But also she is an artist. She is an anointed artist. And her and her husband are also pastors under I forgot the name of the church. Don't get me, sis. But they are anointed leaders, and I am so glad to call them my friends. But before we go to them, we're going to have a selection by my bro Tim Sabb, an anointed vessel, an anointed man of God. He is also an artist, and he is going to take us to worship.
What's going on, everybody? Listen, I'm so excited that I'm a part of my brother's launch for the Business of Church Virtual Summit. And I just pray that in this section, you will be blessed. Hallelujah, Jesus. Oh, water you turned into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. There's not like you. Into the darkness you shine. And out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. Not like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger, and God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power, our God, yeah, yeah. Oh. Water you turn into wine, and open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. There's none like you, oh God. Our God is great, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, what can stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, what can stand against? Oh, what can stand against? Yeah. Listen, you are good, your mercy is forever. Hallelujah. You are good, your mercy is forever. Hallelujah. You are good, your mercy is forever. Your mercy is forever. Yeah, you are good. Your mercy is forever. Your mercy is forever, God. You're a good, good Father. That's who you are. That's who you are. That's who you are. And I'm loved by you. That's who I am, Jesus. That's who I am, Jesus. That's who I am. You're a good, good Father. That's who you are. That's who you are. That's who you are. And I'm loved by you. That's who I am. That's who I am. That's who I am. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, what can stand against? Oh, Jesus, hallelujah, Jesus. Our God is greater, our God is stronger, and God, you are higher than any glory other. Our God is healer, awesome in power, our God. our God. Wherever you are, just lift it up and say, our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, He really is, He really is, He really is, He really is, He really is a good, good Father. That's who He is. That's who He is. That's who He is. And I'm loved by you. That's who I am. That's who you are. That's who I am. That's who you are. You're a good, good Father. And we praise your name, Jesus. And we bless your name, Jesus. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, Jesus. Oh, glory, God. Hallelujah. We bless your name tonight. I just pray, hallelujah, that this section has blessed whomever, encouraged whomever.
Thank you, my bro, for an awesome praise and worship segment, awesome ministry. He is a gift to the body of Christ. So I'm so grateful that you are a part of this. So now we're going to, bring on my sister, Kasaundra Bryant. And I mean, this young lady right here, like I said before, she is gifted. She is the one, when churches call me and say, hey, do you have a graphic designer? Do you have someone that can help? And I said, yep, I sure do.
Oh, man, that's love. Thank you.
So, without further ado, I would like to introduce my sister, Kasaundra Bryant.
Yo, what's good, everybody? I am super excited to be a part of this virtual summit. Tim, what a job you have done. Shout out to all the dynamic speakers and singers. Yo, Darius, Jamala, Tim, y'all sing here. All right, let's get into it. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the business of branding and talking about graphic design. So let's get into it. So branding, as simple as I can put it, is the identity of your ministry. As simple as I can put it. Graphic design is the visual communication of your ministry's personality. Okay, so branding is the identity, and graphic design is the personality. Together, they assist in all of your advertising and marketing efforts. I know when I first began in my career, it took some time for me to develop my brand. So if you're in a place right now where you're trying to develop it, it's okay. It takes steps. And it's good that you're here because a lot of what's been talked about is laying the foundation for us to have sustainable futures in our careers and our endeavors, especially when it comes to ministry. So when I first started, I was figuring it out. I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Well, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I loved to do, but I didn't have the knowledge and understanding of what that was. And so throughout my experience in my 20s, y'all, I just turned 30. I feel good though. But in my 20s, it was a lot of me laying the foundation, sowing seeds. And so in developing my brand, now that I'm here, I have a more clear vision. What is my brand? My brand is music, ministry, and graphic design. That's my brand. That's what I do. And so everything I do, when you go to look at my profile page, you'll see my graphic design. When you go to look at ministry, you'll hear me talking about design and all of the different things and architecture and things that I studied in school. It's a part of who I am. And so some of us have so many different talents and gifts that we have, and that is good. That is okay. It is very possible for you to be multi-talented and brand all of that in one. Okay? So don't feel overwhelmed. Early on in the beginning stages, I felt so overwhelmed. I even was told that I need to focus on one thing. So glad I didn't listen to that, because narrow is the way, yes, but there are lanes, and God has given us multiple lanes within the narrow road that he has placed us on. So don't feel overwhelmed. Let's get into it. Branding. I'm going to talk about 7 things: identity, your target audience, integrity, establishing an online presence, networking, investing, and consistency. Yes, consistency. We all can use a little work on that, right? So, identity. I am an advocate for being yourself. Be yourself. Be authentic. That is the best thing you can ever do when it comes to branding. It's better to brand yourself before you go into an industry rather than allowing the industry to brand you. The reason being is because when you allow the industry to brand you, it takes away the potency of your message, who you are, and you find yourself just being this carbon copy of what's already been done. And the world needs you. That's why God created you the way that he did. Come on, y'all. Peculiar people. Let's grow. All right, y'all. So, identity. Knowing your identity establishes the foundation of your brand. Without a foundation, it'll be impossible to build a sustainable future. We're talking about inheritance here, y'all. This is not, if you're in anything and it's just about you, how are you benefiting the people in the world? How are you helping the people in the world? Everything you do in business is about being a solution to a problem, which means it has to deal with service. It has to deal with giving. And so in this, it's about an inheritance, leaving something for generations to generations that generation to generation can benefit off of. All right. So having this foundation allows you and helps you to work efficiently and not just be productive. Understanding and laying the foundation of your brand helps you work efficiently and not just be productive. This is how your brand can be effective. Okay, it's God's desire. It's God's desire for us to bear fruit that will last. All right, you can go to John chapter 15, verse 16. Let's get some scripture up in there. We talk about ministry and brand. Come on, y'all. All right, so the benefits of making and taking time to develop your brand's identity develops customer loyalty and retention, giving your brand a competitive advantage in an oversaturated market. Social media right now, everybody's on it. I mean, we don't have no other choice, right? It's really important to make sure that right now, while the media is just saturated, that you are really taking time to develop these foundations for your businesses, especially when it comes to branding. Okay, because it really will help you stand out in an oversaturated market. People want to connect with who they can identify with, have the same goals as, or even be inspired by. Okay, so in developing your brand, make sure that you are considering the people that you are called and commissioned to serve. We'll get there. Amen. Bless God. All right, so when you look at different examples like Nike is one that brands and markets to the sports, to athletes. Right? When I think of Nike, I think of, oh, it's about to go down. Let's do this. Game on. Just do it. That's what I think about. Like, there's no way I can be sad or not amped up for what's about to go down when I think of Nike, even when I see their commercials. That is what they project. When you think about Starbucks, if you love coffee, I'm not really a coffee person, but when you think about Starbucks and even how they developed their brand, they met a need. They saw that, yes, people were selling coffee during the time people were grinding coffee, but there weren't no coffee bars. And they wanted to take a coffee bar and make it a social place for people to gather. So in their branding, they found another way to reach people who may be studying, who want to have meetings, but don't want to have them at an office or at the house. So it's just about building your brand, being yourself, and making sure that you are taking time to develop the identity of it so that you can really stand out in a saturated market. Okay. Even in music, same difference. All right. So some questions to ask yourself is, what is the mission and vision of what you're doing? What is the mission and vision? Another question is, what pain point or problem were you sent to solve? Okay. What problem were you put on this earth to solve? In ministry, What have you been commissioned by God to reform here on earth for his glory to be revealed? Okay, Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10 says, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Understand that even Jesus was a brand, y'all. Listen, he was a walking brand. Everywhere he went, people knew his name. Listen, the miracles he performed, the teachings he did, before he showed up, people knew that he was coming. He came down to earth. He was briefed in heaven. He came down to earth on a mission, and he fulfilled that mission. He stuck to the plan. You cannot build a brand without a plan. God's plan has to be a part of your brand. Bars. All right, y'all. So seriously, Jesus was a brand. Think about it. God has spoken into you before you were even thought about, before you were put in your mother's womb. In eternity, you had so much placed inside of you. He prepared you in advance. Now that you're here on earth, it's for you to walk out God's plan. And as you walk it out, he'll reveal that who, what, when, where, why, and how. He will reveal it to you. So if you're in a place right now where you're just trying to figure it out, please understand that there is time and a grace right now for us to take time to learn, to take time to sit in chairs like this and really learn different things about what can better our businesses and who we are as people. Another question to ask yourself is, what is your personality? Do you have a personality that people will love to be, to talk to? Are you are you a communicative person? If you're going into an industry, I know everybody say they're introverts sometimes, I get it. But the reality is anything concerning people will require you to be personable, will require you to have some kind of personality on and off the stage, on in and out of the office. Okay, y'all, come on, let's do it. Let's grow. So what is your personality? This is what allows people to relate to you on a personal level. Remember, people want to feel like they're a part of what you're doing. They want to have a connect. What is your connecting point with people? Another question is, what makes you different than what already exists? What makes you peculiar? When you come into Christ, he creates a new creation. You become new, right? With this, there's a benefit. You also become peculiar. Oftentimes in ministry, we are very much conditioned to build in a box. We're conditioned to build in a box sometimes. And so in order for us to be peculiar and to work all the giftings and talents that God has placed inside of us, we have to break out of that box and really embrace what makes us different. Even if that means you standing out, even if that means you not being popular at this moment, but we'll get there. It's important that you embrace what makes you different. We need you. We don't need nobody else. We need you. We need your ministry. We need your songs. We need your fashion. We need your words. All right. All right. So remember this, as you grow vertically, your brand expands horizontally. What does that mean? As you grow in knowledge and wisdom, and you allow time to build who you are personally and to give you experience, you'll grow in your thinking and your concepts and how you create vertically. And as you do that, your brand expands horizontally, now expanding your territory, your reach, the people you can reach. So just stay consistent. Don't give up. I'm trying to tell you, it's going to be great. All right. The next thing about branding. Who is your target audience? This allows you to brand efficiently. It's no point of you having a brand, of you doing anything, and you don't know your target audience. Now, as God reveals, as you seek God and he reveals, he commissions and calls you, he calls and commissions you, amen. You'll learn of the people that you are called to. All right. So In understanding who you're called to, ask yourself these questions. What is the perspective of my audience? How do they think? What is the language of my audience? How do they talk? If you're called to a young generation, right, and you go to them like in the 5 and 6, 50th, 30th, 5, 6, 7, you know, and you're just coming to them with just all of this, whatever, that may not grasp a certain generation that's not into that, a certain people that's not into, you know, the Romanesque, if that's a word, of of how things are presented and taught. Okay, so it's important to make sure that you understand the language of your audience. We're gonna get into design as well, and you'll see how all this comes together. It's actually pretty cool. All right, so, and also when you understand your audience, it helps you to create targets to hit. If you're going to be speaking during this time, make sure you're saying something. If you're going to be singing during this time, make sure you're singing something that's inspiring and encouraging the people. And for some of us, our calls and commissions require us to come and reform some things, and that's all right. But make sure you're doing it in love, because that is what the world needs right now, even in correction. Bless God. All right. So number 3, integrity. Integrity is very important in branding. It sustains the foundation. Being honest and having strong morals is really, really, really important. Okay. How do you do business on and off the stage is really important. Remember, you're a brand. How do you handle people? How do you handle money? How do you handle finances? Do you have things together? Do you treat the people that you're bringing into your projects with integrity and care and love? Do you consider them in all things? Integrity. Listen, the way that a part of building your brand and the way that it spreads is through word of mouth. And so you want to make sure that your brand is attached to integrity, showing up on time, showing up prepared, showing up excited about what you're doing. Don't be one to just show up and like, hey, I'm here. Let's get to it. No, show up excited, help promote, just be excited about what you're doing. That helps build your brand. And it also helps people want to be a part, bringing you in. It helps with people wanting to bring you into what they're doing because they know what comes with you. They know that when they book you, it comes performance, it comes a good word, it comes you being on time, it comes with you looking great, it comes with you smelling great, it comes with you being ready, on point. All right, so integrity, it sustains the foundation. The next point, establishing your online presence. One of the ways that I did that was not only through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. I launched a website. When you launch a website, it allows a website along with social media. It allows people to find you and Google you online. Having an online presence allows people to connect with you without having to have your personal number. So when you talk about establishing your online presence, when it comes to creating your username, make sure everything is consistent. For me, I use my first and my last name, Kasaundra Bryant. So if you look up my website, my Instagram, my Facebook, everything's going to say Kasaundra Bryant. Okay, so being consistent. No one wants to go search for you and your email say, K hello boo boo or something like that. And it's just like, that don't work. And it also helps with you building a professional brand, a brand that can stand in corporate and in the marketplace and wherever. Like it could just be together. So make sure that when you're picking your usernames, when you're creating your emails, try to get as close to whatever your name is as possible, even if you have to add a number or underscore or something. Okay? Be consistent. Also, before you pick a name, Google and research it to make sure that you're able to own that name. Also, even with hashtagging on social media, that's a part of branding, hashtagging. Make sure before you start branding with the hashtag that you make sure it's a clear profile with that hashtag. I know a lot of the hashtags that I use, I research first. And when I go to research them, they're clear. So that way I'm able to attach my name to something and build that with my brand. Okay. So hashtag was popular. Do that. But also in the process, consider yourself, because it's helping you create an online presence. All right. And don't just get stuck online. Also consider getting some car decals. Consider doing some, and we're going to talk about that's our next point, networking. Consider networking. Okay. Consider networking with people. With people, y'all. Yes, you have to communicate with each other. It's all about community. All right. When you are in a community, you're able to communicate with each other, learn from each other, spar with each other, and really connect and build and be able to build each other's brands. Okay. So I know a lot of the experience and opportunities I've been afforded is due to building solid relationships, not just connections. So in networking, it's important to make sure that you are building relationships with people, that you're not just connecting to benefit from them, but you are connecting to really build a relationship, because that will be a part of building your community. All right. And how you brand. Let me hurry up. All right. So networking is really important. Making sure you invest. Make sure that you are investing in your products, that you are investing in your mix and mastering, that you're investing in your graphic design, that you're investing in everything, because quality is key. Quality is key. Okay. Consistency. Make sure you are being consistent. Consistency is a part of stewardship. When God bless you with something, make sure that you are stewarding it well. And a way to steward it is through consistency. So like we talked about in different various places, you can be consistent. Social media usernames, content. Also, in being consistent, don't build in fear. Yes, when you are a peculiar person, when you are a person who is very creative, people will take your ideas. But that's okay, because they can't do you like you do you, boo. Do you. Be consistent. I know that's something that I learned early on in my career, and I'm so grateful that I learned that lesson, because I started and stopped a lot of things due to fear. And the truth is, it wasn't fear. It was just really happening. So, but it's okay. Stay consistent, because no one can do you like you. All right. No one can be you better than you. So be yourself. Keep going, because it may not be popular now, but it will be popular one day. If God called you to it and it's a need in the earth, it will be popular one day. So stay at it. Now let's jump into graphic design real quick. So when we talk about graphic design, we're talking about visual identity. This has to do with branding. And so when you talk about graphic design, make sure that you are considering the personality of your brand, the personality of your identity. So one thing to look into is a brand Bible. It's called a brand Bible. And what the brand Bible does is it's a reference tool that helps maintain consistency. So all the different points that we talked about in branding, graphic design actually helps maintain that. Okay, on a visual level. And so a brand Bible is a reference tool. So a brand Bible deals with the colors you use, the font types you use, the images you post. If you're going to post images, make sure you're consistent with that. The shapes, the logos, the business cards, the products, the apparel, the design book, the brand book really helps you stay consistent, and it really gives you a clear visual presentation of what you want people to see. All right. Another thing is advertising and marketing. That allows you to engage with your target audience. So postcards, flyers, magazines, newspapers, banners, billboards, infographics, all these different things, depending on your sphere of influence, you will use advertising and marketing to engage with your audience, even if it's asking a question, a hashtag, whatever the case may be. All right. Also, we have UI designs. UI designs deal with apps and websites. Some of the amazing artists overseas have the largest fan bases because they have learned how to utilize apps and websites. Okay, finding creative ways to brand what you do, whether that be through creating collectibles for people to collect, whether that be branding a t-shirt or whatever, a game. I know there's this music group in Japan, I think, where they have a video game, y'all, a video game, and that reached and allowed them to reach a whole new generation. And they found a way to integrate music and video games. So with all that was shared, I pray that it blessed you. But most of all, just understand that you can be yourself, okay? All of your gifts and talents will align with what God has called you and commissioned you to do. It's just about taking time to build a foundation to figure out how you can bring all those things together and making sure that you are really taking those steps to really present yourself in a way that people can identify and you can solve a problem and just be the best person that God has created you to be. I want to leave you with some resources. I know a lot of people use Canva right now to create graphic design. That's cool, but it kind of keeps you in a box. And so with the ever growing market, okay, make sure that you take some time or you hire someone who knows Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, because that will allow your business to stand out among the rest. Okay. And a special announcement is that I'll actually be offering some design classes in Photoshop, graphic design Photoshop classes. I will be offering that very soon. So you can go to my website, www.kasaundrabryant.com, to check that out very soon. Or you can also follow me at Kasaundra Bryant on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere. You can follow me, stay updated, stay connected, because I'll be announcing the date very, very soon. It is my heart that ministries, creatives, everyone is able to learn graphic design. And guess what? You don't have to know it. I have grace. I have the grace to teach beginners, y'all. Listen, I want to help you. I want to help you. You don't have to know anything. All you need to do is have the program. And so I want to sit down with you and help you learn graphic design. So that way you don't get stuck on apps like Canva and all these different things if you don't have the money to do it. But make sure that you, if you have any questions, sorry guys, if you have any questions, reach out to Tim. I'm sure he will let you know and all that good stuff. All right. It was nice talking to y'all. I really appreciate y'all, man. It was great. Tim, I'm ready for you.
Thank you so much, sis. Yeah, you. I mean, I just love you, sis. You are awesome.
I love you. I will be back.
And you know, for some of my pastor friends and church leader friends, she does sing too. So you can contact her to come in and do some praise and worship and some. She has an awesome music out, so check her out on IG and YouTube. It's really, really good stuff. But again, Kasaundra, thank you so much. Tell your husband thank you. You know, allowing you to do this before. I mean, you know, he's my bro. But thank you again. If you you know, visit her website, kasaundrabryant.com. If you're looking to, you know, for those churches who are trying to expand with regards to their media and want to learn how to do graphics, contact her. Even if you contact me, I'm going to direct you to contact her because she is our.
I'm on the team, y'all. I'm on the team. Eagle Men's Media. Let's grow.
Yeah, she is. She is one of our graphic designers, and we're so honored to have her a part of our family. So again, thank you again, Kasaundra. I really appreciate
you. Love you, bro.
Love you too. All right, everyone. So I want to say thank you. We are wrapping up. My brother, Devin Gray, he couldn't be with us tonight because of one of his children is ill. And I'm a firm believer in taking care of family first. So, you know, just, you know, stay tuned. He is going to be sending something for us so that way you can still get the material that's needed with regards to marketing. So I'll tell you this, go to our YouTube page, it's Eagle Men's Media, and that's where we'll be posting some of this content on YouTube, and we also have some big news coming soon too. So you wanna go to YouTube and just subscribe to Eagle Lens Media, so that way you can stay up to date. And of course, we're on social media, Facebook and Instagram, at Eagle Lens Media. And our website is www.eaglelensmedia.com. There are a couple thank yous that I want to address before ending this night. I want to say again, thank you so much for joining us on Monday and for joining us on tonight. I mean, God is really, really doing something great in this land. And I want to speak to the fact that, whatever God is calling you to do, go ahead and do it, even if no one has done it before, because He's gifted you to do it. So, I say all that to say, go for it. And if you fail, so what? You fail, you get back up, you learn from it, and you keep on moving. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to my wife, Sierra. Babe, I love you. Ever since Eagle Lens Media has taken off this year, glory be to God, she has taken care of my two boys, Noah and Nate, and I cannot thank her enough. She pushes me, she prays for me, and she is definitely my rock, and I am so grateful to have you in my life, babe. I am so appreciative. To my mom and dad and my sister, thank you for always supporting me. You guys are always there. I mean, no matter what, I love you. To the speakers, to Dr. Simone Gibson, Apostle Jonathan Patterson, Dion Brown, Ricky Solomon, Erika Cole, Donald Butler, Kasaundra. Thank you guys so much for being a part of history, of basically helping me to launch this other part of the vineyard to help build the body of Christ in the kingdom. So I want to say thank you. And I have some great news. So mark your calendars because this will be an annual summit. So mark your calendars for August 20th, and we're going to send out information regards to that. So you want to join our mailing list. You want to follow us on social media, so that way when we post the conference and the summit for next year, you'll be the first one to know. I'm telling you, you do not want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing, and hopefully, once COVID is over, hopefully by then we will be able to have an in-person summit. Of course, we're still going to have it virtual, but it's going to be in person, and you'll be able to send and bring your media directors, your finance personnel, your administrators, the entire leadership team. They'll be able to come to this summit and learn and be poured back into. And guess what? You can come too, because we also have to make sure that someone takes care of you. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. And I look forward to everything that God is going to do for you. Have a great one.